of EPW. We could surprise the world if we can get something done before the end of the year, and we're going to have some substantial, I think, recommendations, hopefully, towards that period. So we're working diligently on this. We have the same conclusion you all have. Senator Barrasso.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate all the cooperation that we've had as we work together on the permitting issues, and the work continues. Mr. Compton, as I mentioned in my opening statement, this interagency working group, they recently released a report that contains 65 recommendations. The recommendations include imposing new royalties and fees on mining, elimination of mining claim system that encourages resource exploration. All of these recommendations, if they adopted all of them, would they, on balance, increase or decrease mineral production on federal lands in America?
Well, thank you for the question, Ranking Member Barrasso. As I said in my opening statement, I think ultimately the IWG report, especially taken in context with other administrative actions, will increase our reliance on China and other countries for our mineral needs. The report really is a mixed bag, I would say, but the mining law recommendations in there, this is not the time to completely upend our system. The report even acknowledged in the report that converting to a leasing system would cause significant delays in our clean energy objectives.
So then, Secretary Boudreaux, simple questions are not meant to be trick questions. Please, on balance, is it better to mine cobalt here at home or with child labor in the Congo?
Of course, it's better to have reliable domestic sourcing for critical minerals.
Better to mine lithium here or at home or slave labor in China?
Of course, it's better to have reliable supply chains for all of these critical minerals.
Is it better to mine nickel here at home or raising the rainforests in Indonesia?
As I've said, and is the purpose of the interagency's work, it is to advance the cause of developing reliable sourcing and supply chains for a host of critical minerals necessary for clean energy and technology development.
So then why is the administration and the Secretary blocking access to minerals and making it more difficult, as we've just heard, to mine them here at home?
So I think, as members of this committee know, I'm a serious person on these issues, and having a lot of experience across energy projects as well as mining projects. Fundamentally, we need a system and we need to implement reforms that enable that type of development. The main barrier to unlocking America's resources here is conflict and litigation and uncertainty about the permitting process. We need to take that on. That's what the report is intended to do.
So the administration also has issued mineral withdrawals, 26 mineral withdrawals or proposed mineral withdrawals in just the last 2.5 years since taking office. January, the department withdrew 225,000 acres from a site containing 95% of our nation's nickel reserves, 88% of our nation's cobalt reserves, 34% of our nation's copper reserves. We're talking about withdrawals that the administration has done, and the Secretary sat here and seemingly took great credit for. The Biden White House has said that over-reliance on foreign sources and adversarial nations for critical minerals and materials pose national and economic security threats. Yet your Department of Interior continues to make it harder to develop the resources, and we have them right here at home. So how do these mineral withdrawals that your Secretary came here and talked about, how does that help us reduce our nation's dependency on foreign minerals?
So let's talk about where those withdrawals happen. So as an Alaskan, the right place to mine for some of these materials is not in the richest, most abundant salmon fishery in the entire world. As a supporter of a host of economic activity, the right place to mine for some of these materials is not in the boundary waters of northern Minnesota, which is the biggest economic driver in that part of the state. And so these things do have to be viewed in context. Unfortunately, under the existing laws, the only blunt instrument available to the department, and this is why we need more tools, is something like a mineral withdrawal. We need to be able to have a much finer and targeted approach to the development of critical minerals.
So, Mr. Compton, and then to Dr. Yergin, We're developing only a small fraction of our nation's lithium reserves, especially compared to Australia. Is there any reason that why we should be so far behind a nation with similar environmental and labor standards as we have with Australia?
No, of course, there is absolutely no reason we should be, even if we considered ourselves average in permitting with some of these countries, I don't think it's the United States place to be celebrating being average either. So, yeah, we have a lot of work to do on our permitting to get out ahead.
So, Dr. Yergin, how can we here at home drive up our mineral production to levels closer to Australia, specifically with lithium?
Well, I think if we look at Australia and Canada, they have more efficient permitting processes and they get on with it and see it as important as opposed to, and they're both countries with strong mining traditions, so they don't have the kind of divisions that we do. We do see actually of the 4 minerals that we've talked about, particularly 3 of them, the U.S. has the best prospects. Lithium is our best prospect to become a much bigger producer. We're best positioned in that, we think.
So my final question.
I'm sorry.
No. Well, just the chairman and I were just talking about the fact. How about the court systems and how it drags on? Because I think Mr. Boudreaux, Secretary Boudreaux, just talked also about the litigation involved in slowing all of this down.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said it's not only permitting, but it's the judicial review that goes on and on. That is unique to our system that makes it so difficult to do it. And even if you wanted to get going now, it's going to take time to get going. But when you look at 20 years to get a project going, we're talking about 2040, 2043.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm with you. Senator Hickenlooper, up early.